Welcome back to the OTB podcast, the original and still the best New Zealand mountain bike podcast. I'm your host, Kieran Bennett, and this week we've got a very special episode, one that's been on my list for quite some time, with Matt Whitaker, aka Dogboy from Wide Open Distributors. Lester Perry and myself sit down and have a good chat with Matt in the Wide Open office, talk about where he came from, where it all began, his days with foes, moving back to New Zealand and starting Wide Open with his wife Alice. But before we get started on the podcast, don't forget, the OTB podcast is brought to you by Maxxis Tyres, Squirt Lube, and Fox Suspension. Support the brands that support us. On to the show.
Nice. Very nice. Front and back. Leader's garment. Quite happy.
It's alright, isn't it? Looks pretty good in that bad boy.
Excellent, I think the word you're looking for is... Look at that thing. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? Beautiful.
Now, only if you're ready for this.
All right, we're here. We're got a special edition today. We're currently in Rotorua for the Waka 100, so you're joining myself and Lester Perry.
G'day, KB.
Great to have you along, mate, as always.
As always, just like last week, actually.
It was. And we've come to the beautiful Wide Open office here to catch up with Matt Whitaker, aka Dogboy, aka Doggers. And thanks for coming along.
Thanks for having me.
It's one that's been on my list for a while. I feel like, you're a bit of a low-key legend of the industry here in New Zealand, so I knew we had to do this at some point.
No, that's cool. Definitely like to be low-key.
I feel like that's kind of always been the your path yourself, but no, I've had a list of people, and especially guys like yourself, that I didn't want to do it online. I felt we needed to sit down in person, so it's great to finally do it.
Yeah, cool. No, it's great to have you here as well.
Oh, geez, where do we start?
Always start at the beginning. KB.
Yeah.
It's a very good place to start.
That is a very good place to start. We won't go to the Wide Open side of things. Just, I guess, where did mountain biking start for you?
Mountain biking started for me almost when mountain biking wasn't a thing, so that is going to kind of indicate my age. But I got into it like when I was about 13, and I bought was it a Malazzo sort of thing or whatever, but it wasn't really mountain biking. You just rode fire breaks and stuff. I grew up in Upper Hutt, and a couple of my mates were into it, so we just used to ride up Cannon Point and hoon down fire breaks.
Is this like the era of like Rico Rogers and that? Is this around the same time?
No, this was probably before that.
Yeah.
It wasn't downhill. Wasn't again? I suppose that downhill was a thing, but it was more cross country, and there was like this little race series, and then I worked in a bike shop when I was at school, and I was just sort of always had a real passion for it, and then started to race a bit of XC, and then got into downhill. Enjoyed that a lot more.
That seems to be a pretty common theme from people who talk to.
yeah, no, for sure. And there was a good scene, and but it was all very kind of, you look at it where it is now to what it was. It was all pretty low key and pretty rigid, and
It's a lifetime ago, really. I mean, yeah, for a lot of people, it is a lifetime ago, and you were obviously there from the very early days. And I mean, from my side looking in, probably unbeknown to you and a lot of other people of that similar era, you guys are the ones who've like broadly shaped the sport in New Zealand, particularly from the gravity side. But you've always kind of been in the background a little bit.
Yeah, because I raced, and I was a sort of solid rider, but not, sort of at the, that elite kind of level. I used to sort of go pretty good. And I think, I suppose you sort of mentioned about being a bit in the background, that sort of suited my personality a bit. I didn't, and then when I sort of got the opportunity to work overseas as a mechanic with John Kirkcaldie, I think again it kind of suited my my temperament. I knew my way around a bike. I knew I was never going to be a pro downhill or whatever. So being a mechanic kind of sort of worked quite well. And
How did that? So what year would that was when he was on Foes, wasn't it? He brought you over.
yeah, it was 98. I had a good relationship with Al Heine, Blue Shark. I was riding a Foes Weasel, which a lot of people were of, that era.
That was the bike of that
Yeah.
era.
It was really good. That bike changed my whole perspective on, downhilling. And
I mean,
just what you could do on it, and that was awesome.
We've got a guy who it's still his nickname to this day.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm going to text him and get some inside goss.
So that was. Did you know John before that, or was that?
Yeah, not that well.
Oh, so it wasn't like you were tight.
No,
he was
not
like
at
coming over
all.
with me or
Well, to
anything?
be honest, in some ways, quite the opposite. We were sort of quite poles apart in terms of, he was obviously very, he was at the top of the sport in New Zealand, and I was sort of there or thereabouts. But he wanted a New Zealand mechanic, and Al knew that I was working as a mechanic for a shop in Wellington, and
Which shop were you at then?
I was working at Mud Cycles up in Karori.
Is Mud still around? They are, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Been for
are
a few
not.
hands.
That's
Yeah,
an iconic New Zealand store. Like that's a name that has been around forever.
Yeah, we had a trailer. A friend of mine built this industrial bloody trailer that we put all the bikes in, and it had Filthy Dirty on the big branded
I
up on the
remember
back
that.
of
I
it.
remember the Filthy Dirty,
And what were we talking about? So
Going to Foes, yeah.
yeah, and it sort of all happened real quick. I was actually planning to keep racing, and I was really enjoying being part of the scene in New Zealand, but that opportunity came up, and then to John's credit, he kind of took a bit of a punt on me, probably, and then Foes obviously really took a massive punt on me, and I suppose was just confident in what John was telling him. So, and then before I knew it, man, I was like landed in LA, and I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, I'm.
How old were you at this point? It was like early 20s or something?
I was 23,
Yeah.
24.
Was Alice in the picture
Yeah,
at
yeah.
this point? Yeah.
Because did you take Alice over with you as well? Or was that later on or something? I feel like I remember you were both over there.
So we'd been together a few years.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm going to travel. And I was sort of like,
Like, let me take you to Pasadena, baby.
no, not at all. I was like, I didn't want to, because before getting the job, I was kind of like, no, I don't want to travel. No, I'm just quite happy here in Wellington. I'll ride my bike and stuff like that. And she was like, right, well, I'm going to go to the UK like, lots of people were doing. And then I trumped her because I literally got this job. And then I was like, I'm gone. See you later. And we actually, we did, I suppose we split it up, but pretty much within, I don't know, a month or two, she on her way to London went via LA, and then so we never actually split up, and we've been together ever since. And she's just been, obviously a massive part of, what is Wide Open now, but even just the full journey has always sort of been there with me, which has been amazing. Yeah.
That's very cool.
So you went and lived with Brent Foes at that point?
Yeah.
Upstairs in his place?
Yeah.
The hottest room I've ever lived in my life.
Yeah, it was funny because I listened to one of your podcasts. I didn't realise you spent time there.
Yeah, it's funny because like the Al Heine Foes connection has brought so many Kiwis over there. So 2006, myself and Tim Maxxis went over and rode for them and lived with Brent upstairs, Brent and Laurie. Rode down to, we'd go and ride, I think it was Mount Wilson up behind there. We'd go ride that in the mornings before it got too hot, and then we'd go to the factory and stamp frame parts and run CNC machines and just hang around there all day.
Drive to the heat treater or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, did that a few times, straightened some frames out. And
Yeah. Like, I was so green. I think back to it, like I was, I was pretty, I was young, 23, and I was a mechanic, but not a, like to be sort of thrown into the real deep end. But then also he gave me the responsibility of this bloody van and a trailer, and then said, drive on the opposite side of the road from one side of the country to the other.
Straight in the deep end.
Yeah. So it was, I remember feeling, I did feel pretty daunted. And I'm pretty sure the first race we did was Big Bear. And I was a massive mountain bike fan, so all of a sudden I was at this event, Norba or whatever, and you're surrounded by all these teams and people that you've seen and sort of idolised, and then all of a sudden you're sort of a part of it, a very kind of flapping kind of part of it. But so no, it was definitely quite the intro. And John was, again, credit to John. He was really good in terms of giving me the opportunity to do it. He wasn't. He had his moments, but overall he was. he was really good.
Because he was kind of, I guess, like really just starting to break through at this point, wasn't he? Like starting to probably cement himself as one of those main guys in the US.
Yeah, totally. And I can't remember, but I reckon that weekend, that first race, I reckon he at least qualified like fastest or something. He was well up there, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like
This is legit.
yeah.
That's quite good.
Maybe we do know what we're doing.
Yeah, I hope his brakes work. I hope the chain stays on, because back then you ran those awful, what were those awful chain guides? Those ACC.
Oh, the AC,
Yeah, and like they were a liability because they had like 50 bits and 50 bolts and that used to. But anyway, I don't know. He finished well, and then from there, that season was his sort of breakthrough year. I think he finished maybe 5th overall. Did he win one? He might have gone close, I reckon. But
so are we talking like skin suit and Troy Lee with the shark fin on the?
This is like Yokohama foes, wasn't it? That kind of.
Nah, it wasn't. That was just
before.
before. No, it was. It was definitely there was the skin suit. Azonic wasn't part of it then. It was pretty. Brent was pretty much funding the lot.
Right. Yeah.
And it was me and John, and then there was a young American kid. But pretty much it was all about John. Yeah. And then we just went from back then it was Norba, which was at the time it was big.
It was pretty big at that point.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And there's a lot of Europeans racing there, and the Aussies were just starting to sort of come in as well. I definitely learnt a lot. And by the end of it, I think I was a lot better mechanic and had a better understanding, but I still think I was pretty green. I think
flying by the seat of your pants, maybe.
Yeah,
Fake it till you make it.
You get thrown so many things, like it's just experience and like things like that. Once you've done it a few years, you just feel a lot more comfortable. And John and I were quite different people, so just sort of working out how we work together as well was always a bit of a thing. And no, it was good. It was good. And then it just went from there.
Yeah. So how many years did you do over there in the end?
I did five seasons.
Yeah.
So John only did the one with Foes, and then he went to Schwinn.
Yeah.
Which was
99 with Schwinn.
Yeah, which was a bit of a disaster for him. And then the next year, sort of Foes kind of elevated because they, Missy came on, and then there was the partnership with Azonic.
Is that when was Nathan over there at that point, like 99? Nathan Rankin?
Yeah, so Rolly was sort of for that first year. He travelled with Duncan
Tiltman or something.
Talbot.
I remember someone.
Talbot. Yeah, Talbot it'll be. Yeah.
And they drove around in this dodgy brown sort of station wagon, and Rolly was on a Foes again, like every Kiwi, and he did well at a mammoth race, and Brent was like, well, let's help him out. So he sort of came into the fold, and so for year 2, Rolly got picked up so he sort of came from that side, and then there was Missy. Obviously Monkey came with Missy.
Pretty iconic crew, really.
Yeah.
And
Missy,
for our generation,
Dog,
for sure.
And for us as younger dudes, especially KB, looking at like Rankin at that point that ride, that's like the pinnacle of it.
I mean, Rankin and JK at that point were like rock stars in the downhill world. It was like you see them at a race and you're just starstruck, like holy shit, man! Like, so I think I started racing I think 2002, 2001, 2002, just in the early, right in the start of probably 2000, 2001. And yeah, I mean, like at that point, those two were just like legends, you know, so it was pretty big time.
Yeah. Todd Leduc
Yeah.
came in.
Yeah.
Kyle as well, raced, I think, his brother. It was,
Yeah, he was on a Foes. He was on a different
Ah,
team.
yeah.
Is that right? He might have been riding a
the
K-
Leduc brothers.
KHS.
One of them drives monster trucks now. Yeah.
Todd, yeah. The other one passed away,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
pretty sad. Yeah. There was a few, and then the team just sort of got a little bit more. I think a bit more pro, a bit more scale. There was definitely a lot more going on. You know, a lot more eyes on us, a bit more support, which made a difference in terms of parts and things like that. And we had a bit more presence in the.
What suspension were you guys on then?
We were all on.
Would've been on the Foes 4.
Yeah, it was all.
Yeah.
It was all. And
In-house.
I don't know if year 2 was Cronut.
Yeah, I feel like the
Right.
Cleanup probably started showing up around 2000,
Yeah,
maybe, with the shock.
Yeah, because we were running Fox for a while, but we would always ran the F1.
Yeah.
But then pretty much once the Cronut came on, might have been the 3rd year. Missy was on her own sort of program. She was running Rock Shock and things. And then the rest of the team, we all ran the same stuff.
That stuff was that was revolutionary at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, it
Man,
was.
those bikes just ate everything.
Yeah, they were ahead of their time.
Yeah.
You're into
Like-
mono by now, right?
Yeah.
Not Weasel anymore. Yeah.
Nah, that was it was called the Slammer.
Slammer, that's right.
Yeah,
Said the tube
yeah.
and the
That's
mono.
right.
They went to
Yeah.
the mono.
Yes.
And then John rode that crazy leaf spring bike.
Yeah.
That I wasn't there for that. That must have been the year
That
before I
was-
got there, and that thing was weighed a ton, but it was just again, so advanced and so
Yeah, you actually raced it a few races as
Yeah.
well, which I hadn't realised.
yeah. But no, and I think too that definitely was you probably again don't think about it at the time. What I definitely did as I got through my time is that the equipment that we were riding was best in class, and was ahead of its time. And people used to come up and sort of, like they'd always be looking and curious to know what you're doing, or they'd be like, "Man, those bikes are so quiet." And Brent was, because Brent used to come to a lot of races. Me and him were very tight, similar kind of, he is a machine in terms of just his work ethic. I used to try and just hang on and, like try and keep up with him during the day or whatever. But nothing was ever a problem, and he was always thinking about how he could make the bikes, quicker, quieter, radder. It was cool. Yeah.
There's man, it's such an iconic brand from that time, and it's funny like you're saying with the bikes, and even I remember when Missy left Foes and went to the global team
yeah.
on Orange, and they built a bike specifically for her that was just essentially a single pivot mirror image of the Foes. Like pivot was in the same place. Like she was obviously just like, no, this is the bike I want, but
Yeah.
they tried to build her an orange version of it. I saw a picture of it the other day actually.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Because she rode the Foes, though. She was like,
yeah, eventually I think she just went back to the Foes
Yeah.
on that team.
yeah. I don't know how she got away with that. but
She commanded a lot
but
at
she
that
did.
point, I guess.
Yeah, she would have had that status that she could kind of do what she wanted at that point, I guess. She was...
Yeah, so she did 2 years on Foes? Must have.
Yeah, because I think that global team probably started 02, so maybe it was like
Yeah.
2000, 2001.
Yeah.
The Piranha would have been pretty fresh around then.
Piranha was only
Not
just
too
dried
dried out.
Yeah, she was mad. Like she was amazing, and she just added, like professionalism and sort of training, and was just, like she definitely added a lot. Like she spent a lot of time with Rolly. Rolly would have learnt a lot from her.
Yeah, right.
And then I know like, me mechanicking. Monk was, we were very different. He had one rider, I had four. But I just sort of like just the way he, would engage with Missy, and it was so I learnt that it wasn't so much like being a good mechanic was one thing, but how you interacted with the athlete and the rider and what you did with them, just sort of mean just keep that was Monk was really good like that. So I definitely picked up a lot of that from him, and he was just he was a rad dude. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's a shame he.
R.I.P. Monk Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
I mean, he might be one of the most well-known mechanics from the downhill racing in that era, especially for a time when like social media wasn't a thing.
No.
It was like there was guys like that just stood out, and they actually got time in magazines and stuff like that because they were just a bit of he was an enigma. He was he was an interesting dude, but so good, so nice.
And his diet was awful.
Mountain Dews, and
then because Alice did quite a bit spent quite a lot of time with us, and she sort of played a swan year kind of role, and keep us all fed and things like that. And she'd be trying to get a sandwich down, Monk. Come on, Monk, have a bloody ham and cheese sandwich. Well, shit, no, for what you touching that shit?
It's like feeding a child.
Yeah, and he was just like, and he put those hot pockets, those awful things you put in the toaster, fucking awful. He'd put them up on the dash, when you were driving across country, and they'd warm up, and then he'd start eating them. And oh man, he was a lot of fun. He was a lot of fun. So, and it was quite cool because he looked after Brook MacDonald as well, Justin. So he had quite a key. He was really tight with Rowley, so he had quite a Kiwi connection, which was cool.
You guys must have done some serious miles driving across the US.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. It's a big country. It's a big country, and we always had this thing where we just really wanted to get there, so we'd just pin it, and
you just do the old drive a tank of gas while the other one sleeps in the back and swap over.
Yeah, and then it sort of gave you a day or two at the other end to kind of not always, but yeah, there was probably some times really where we shouldn't have been, shouldn't have done that. I remember when we drove it must have been Worlds or the World Cup in Mount St Anne. Me and Rowley pinned it all the way back, and I don't know what it was, 2 days or something. Should have taken 5.
Yeah.
And we turn up, and Brent was just like,
"What are you doing?
What are you doing?"
Time warp.
Because we were by that time we were pretty keen to get home, and I think I was heading up to catch up with Alice in London or whatever. But yeah. Yeah, you do some driving there.
I think pretty much across the country, it's like 48 hours is about the minimum. Like that's the drive time if you don't stop. So that's it's
but
long.
you'd sleep in the back, and that was the other. We'd all travel as a team because the team didn't have a heap of budget. Missy flew, but we'd all travel together, and so we definitely. I think that was probably another thing I was really proud of, especially in the last few years, is that that sort of unity you can build with a crew. It was, and then into the last years there was the Aussies. Sort of.
You had Jared Rando on there.
Yeah, Jared Rando and Ben Corey.
Yeah,
he did.
Ben won Worlds.
He won Worlds. Yeah, that was cool. That was at Vale. Then broke his ankle like that night on the piss.
This is what's great about the podcast. These stories come out.
Getting run over by like 4-wheel drive.
Oh Christ!
But yeah. So no, it was good. Yeah.
So was your role? Were you doing like a lot more team management as well as a mechanic, or did you guys have a manager as well?
For a couple of years there, Azonic. That was part. They sort of had a manager that did quite a bit of that logistics for the first couple of years. But in the last 3, I pretty much did all the on road,
right,
and the mechanicking.
With your 4 riders.
Yeah, it was it was definitely a lot. It was a lot, but the guys were good. Like they'd wash their bikes.
Right.
And things like that, like just to take the heat off. And I had it pretty dialed, and all the bikes were, all the same. So I could but we did all our own suspension too. So, I didn't really need to touch the forks too much, but I had to muck around with them. I didn't really had a lot to do with the Cronut shocks, as we just had spares, and then Brent did a lot of that, or they'd get sent back to Charlie and LA to bleed and muck around with. There was definitely a lot.
That's a hearty workload when you compare. At the moment, if you were on Fox or whatever, you'd just be dumping your fork.
Drop your fork
off
off.
at the boys and say, "See you this afternoon." So it's different times, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, I think that's what sort of set the team sort of slightly apart, and it was because Brent had sort of almost full control. The bikes were sort of so desirable compared to because
I still want one.
Yeah. I know. I wish I had one.
Well, I've got a Foes frame at home, and I've got one of Rankin's old F1 forks, and that's a project of mine. One day I'll start it, but that's a project I want to do. The Foes Red, like a replica of that era, because it's just like that's my childhood dream, you know. So it's like that's just a bike I want on the wall.
Yeah, when I do every now and again, not recently, but I've been through Pasadena in the last sort of 10 years or whatever, and see Brent, and he's got a few, but he's not big on sort of memorabilia either. He's got that Missy bike that she won the national, won the series on, but he's got a lot of half, assembled bikes.
Yeah.
But no, he's got a few there.
Well, they moved factory as well, so I can imagine he probably just dumped a whole lot of stuff when he moved out of there as well. Whatever point that was. So.
Yeah.
Take it to the recyclers.
Yeah.
Cash for cans.
I remember finding it would have been the place when you guys were there. I think it was still the same one. And like underneath the factory, there was like a storage room. It was like it was quite low, and it was like almost like a crawl space. And I found that one day, and I was like, "Holy shit! There's some stuff in here. There's all these old hardtail frames." And I was like, "Man, I want to take some of this home." But
yeah. No, it was cool era for sure. Yeah.
Were they doing the Foes pit bikes when you were there? They had those is that a little bit after?
Yeah, that was a bit after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things were fast. And they'd do races around the car park.
Yeah. I think, too, when I realised how good the bike was, we were over in Mount St. Anne, and not sure what, it was obviously a World Cup, first day of practice, and old Nicholas Vulio's bike didn't arrive, went missing on the flight or whatever, and he could have picked any bike to ride in the car park. Anybody would have said, "Here's a bike, mate, you can." And so he wanted to. No, he didn't. I wish he did, because I was a massive fan. But one of his, either his mechanic or manager came over and said, any chance, in French accent, any chance, that there's a spare bike. And so I remember ringing Brent, and I said, "Brent,
you'll never believe this.
Can we put him on a bike?
This guy, Nicholas Vulio, he wants to ride your bike for the day." And he was like, "Hell yeah!" So yeah. So that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. That's the sort of stuff that you just never hear about, especially from those days. Like now, it would be all over the internet.
That's true. Yeah. So just one day, and then his bikes turned up. But I thought that highlighted that, all the settings were super different from when we got it back. So
that's classic.
Yeah.
Done some tinkering to it.
So how did that kind of all come to a close? That chapter on Foes. What year would that kind of be?
2002. I was just cooked, I think.
I'm not surprised by the sound of it.
Yeah, I definitely put a lot in. I think I put a lot in, and I felt like I'd kind of achieved a lot. We'd done well, and we had a really good crew, and it felt like the right time to kind of exit. And I sort of felt like I couldn't keep doing it. Alice had, given up a lot to, for me to sort of keep plodding away, and so I was sort of like this. I think it feels like a good time to get out. Yeah.
It was nothing to do with your segment, and was it the circus and the credits?
Is that me? I don't know. It was definitely no. I don't think so.
There was someone on a Foes riding down beside a ski piste. They didn't have any race kit or any other clothes
that
on
wasn't
in
me.
the trees. Wasn't you?
No, it wasn't me. No, it wasn't. No, hand on heart.
He's adamant.
I am, yeah.
I've lived 20 years with the understanding that this is you.
No, that definitely was not me. No, I'm not. I don't do nudity.
No. All right.
No,
I was misinformed.
You were misinformed.
There you go. From
You gotta be
There we go.
Yeah. No, that was definitely not me.
You've just come down a peg in my book.
I'll have to check it out.
Who was the hardest on bikes when you worked for over there at that point?
Who was the hardest on?
Yeah,
to be honest, the bikes
breaking
held
the
up.
most.
Wheels were a problem.
Wheels weren't great in that era.
No, they weren't. And so we'd build a lot of wheels, and it was just constant. And I think I had to build them so quickly that maybe the quality wasn't, up to spec. So that was always a real problem.
Those weren't wheels by Wide Open.
No. That's gone to. I don't build those either.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah. But that was probably the hardest thing. Outside of that, like every now and again, one of the boys would have a massive wreck. Like Ben Corey, the day of Worlds, he had a massive wreck, and like bent his fork and all sorts of things, and sort of brought it in all, on an angle, and he's, oh, sorry, dog boy. And so I had to rebuild that, sort of on the fly. And
Fire drill.
And then, got him up the hill, and he got down. He still got down the hill and won, which was pretty cool. But yeah, they're all pretty good. I think the bikes kind of took a bit of a beating, but chain guides weren't great either.
No.
That was always a headache, hey?
Massive.
Like, what was the shift there?
I think it was
MRP.
big chain
MRP,
rings,
yeah.
and like
true.
and bottom brackets were getting lower, and so you had like 44 tooth chain
Yeah.
rings on, which just had no ground clearance,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
you'd smash the bottom rollers and stuff into things all the time. And
yeah. Bikes were pretty industrial too.
yeah.
They'd take a. But again, I think a lot of it comes back to the foes was just super solid. Loved it, especially when it got rough and rowdy. You
With
just-
that Kernut shock on them,
Yeah.
that mono
Yeah.
was just unbelievable.
Just lean back and yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, no, the one I raced in 06 at the start of the year was the mono. I mean, that was fundamentally the same frame as what you guys had been racing in 02, 03 or whatever, and it was like still just so good. And that was the year they went to the 2-1, and I just hated that bike. It just didn't work anywhere near the same.
Didn't quite know.
No, but yeah, what an era, foes, and they're still pumping bikes out. It's cool to see.
Yeah, they haven't changed much. They're pretty industrial.
I imagine Brent's still in there at like 6:30 in the morning, tearing his hair out.
Yeah.
Running machines and
Yeah,
welding
he's still-
frames and
And that's the thing. If you buy a Foes today, it is welded by Brent Foes.
That's pretty crazy, eh?
Yeah.
There's not many brands that can pull that off now and still be there.
No.
A few real niche brands, but I mean, arguably a Foes is not seen as a super boutique brand.
No.
one of the guys that was there when I was there, and he was there when you were there, is still working there.
Chris.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
No
he's
way.
still there.
Yeah.
And Brent's making more off-road stuff. He's
Oh,
making.
okay, yeah.
He's doing something
Truck
with
parts and things like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So that's different. I think that's become
Pays the bills.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I think bikes now has taken definitely a bit of a back seat.
So when you decided that you'd had enough over there, obviously you moved back to New Zealand. Were you coming back with a plan to start Wide Open, or was that something that just kind of happened organically, or how did that all sort of come together?
There was no real plan because John and I started Wide Open together, and we probably took a bit of inspiration from Al Heine, Blue Shark,
Yeah.
because he had a distribution business, and we thought, if Al can do it, how can it be? Yeah,
Did you almost kind of start it while you were still
yeah.
like you were still working over there? And
Yeah. So we did. We got OD. So ODI was sponsoring the team, and nobody was bringing them into the country.
So that's the original brand, and they're still sitting
Yeah.
here on the shelf right behind us, which is cool.
Yeah. And so we went to ODI and said, hey, would you be happy if we brought them in? And they were like, sure. And so we brought in a box. John and I did a road trip. Went around to bike shops and sold grips out of the van. That must have been a summer. I think I went back and worked in a bike shop. John trained, and then I went back for one more year. And my mum actually would. So we set up a fax machine and I think it was just a fax machine.
Mum was running the
Fax
3PL.
Mum was running the 3PL out of
The original employee.
yeah, and so she'd put grips into a courier bag and then send them next day and write an invoice. And
Amazing.
so that was sort of a 6 months, and then I was done. And then we added a couple more brands, MRP and SDG.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you had that US connection
Yeah.
with those brands, so it's probably like quite
Yeah.
organic to start pulling those sort of brands into place. And
Yeah, exactly. And I started to work part-time, 4 days a week with a good mate of mine, Hugh, and he was super laxed about letting me answer the phone and write orders on a bit of timber or whatever. And then I'd pack orders at night, put them in a box outside the house, and the courier would pick them up the next day, sort of style. Sort of ran that for a while, and then Alice started to do more and more. Again, just in the evenings and things like that. And then it got to the point where John was still, he was still had a long way to go with what he was doing, and we were kind of we were doing everything. So we sort of said, John, we'll buy you out, and he was like, sure. And then it's just gone from there. Just one thing.
I still vividly remember buying my first ever pair of ODI grips at a national here in Rotorua at the bottom of the downhill track, out of a bag, and I don't remember if it was you or John I got them from. It was $40 cash.
It'll be John.
Yeah.
I remember,
straight out of the backpack at the bottom of the track.
I remember buying some out of his garage in Wellington. I was staying there with Doddsy, and we were buying them out of his shed.
Like
but that might not have been part of Wide Open. That might have been his,
out of his personal supply.
Lock-on grips at that point was just like, they were the only ones, and I remember
between
getting
lock-on
them.
grips and Maxxis Tyres, you could have had a good cash cow.
I remember putting
you
them
get a
on.
jersey, you get a pair of pants.
Some super tackies.
I was so excited. Put them on before race run. This was like after practice, before racing, up the hill. It's like, still remember that well. Yeah. I used to have some good garage sales actually up here. Bought some goggles, and I've got a Kirkcaldie #1 jersey from the Maxxis days that I bought from him at one of his garage sales out of the back of the truck.
Oh, he'd love to hear that, mate.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that all just kind of kicked off from there.
And then at some point you obviously ended up where we are now in Rotorua.
Yeah. So we, so then I worked with Hugh for probably 2 or 3 years. 2 years.
Was that building?
Yeah.
Just when you said writing orders on a piece of timber, I was like, you must have been building at that point.
Yeah. And so I sort of.
Hugh was racing as well, right?
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Is that Hugh Lintott?
Hugh Lintott.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where I went full time, and at that time that was a bit of a commitment. We picked up a few more brands: Marzocchi, FSA,
Turner.
Yep, Turner. Yep. So we sort of started to get a little bit of scale. We had the wide open brakes going,
and the hardtail
That's
frames.
right.
Yeah.
It's iconic from the mid 2000s.
Yeah. There's one not hanging up down.
I know. I spied that on the way in. I was like, there it is.
Yeah, and then Alice. She went full time, so we'd built a garage next to our house, but we'd maxed that out. We'd maxed out a few things over the time, and then we were sort of up for a bit of a lifestyle change, we sort of knew that the success or the way to kind of build was to run the business at home, and. We sort of like the idea of lifestyle, so we started to look around, and Rotorua kind of ticked, a lot of boxes. And obviously there was the pull of the mountain biking, but that was definitely a factor for sure. But I think it was, like what we sold our house for in Wellington and what we bought in Rotorua was really good, and there was a cool little shed on it. So we moved
Pump
in
track there for a bit.
Yeah, there was a pump track. I let it overgrow, unfortunately, now that's sheep.
Classic pump track story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty standard.
So you're still in the same house out there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember going out there when you had the business running out of the big garage down below. And
Because we had the shed, and then we doubled the shed, and then ran out, maxed that out.
I mean, that is tiny compared to what you're in now.
Yeah.
It's like you wonder how you ever did it.
No, well, because then we moved into a warehouse.
That's right.
In T Street down the road here. We were there 6 years, and then we've been here for 4.5, which is crazy how quickly time flies. But
That's scary.
Yeah, and you just sort of, and through that time you pick up some brands, you lose some brands, you sort of go on a bit of a roller coaster. But no, it's definitely come a long way. Yeah,
I think something that's been really cool, especially from my side, it's like you look back at like you've still continued to be so involved with racing. I mean, like the Wide Open team, would have been 2003-ish maybe, with Des Curry, Glenn Hayden. That was just the most legitimate looking team, cool, and that was an awesome time. So it was obviously still a passion that you just wanted to, keep that support going.
Yeah, and it's still runs deep now. It's probably one of the things I enjoy the most. And it's definitely a lot of work and things like that. But I just love supporting up and coming talent. You look back at the history of
Sam Blenkinson, Brook MacDonald,
Kelly McGarry.
Yeah.
Kelly.
Robin
Now
Goomes,
Robin, yeah.
Goomes now, 2-time Rampage winner. Like, you've helped a lot of people.
Charlie Murray.
Yeah.
Oh, there's lots.
We're only scratching the surface.
Yeah, but no, it's
That from my side though, that's an interesting thing. Having been around the industry for almost as long as you have, but you've had a real good talent for spotting the talent at the right time. Brook MacDonald's a prime example. Blinky's another, and you guys have got in bed with them super early. Their career has unfolded and they've had other sponsors or whatever, but there's always a wide open connection. And I feel that a lot of brands would bail out. Oh, you're successful now, like we're pulling back or whatever, but you guys have kept the connection. And I guess part of that's the way that you've rolled it. Like you got personal relationships with these guys now,
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see that. It's a long-term play.
I think but working in the US and I really, I saw the power of what ambassadors, athletes can do for your brand. So once we got to a point where we could put a program together, the Turner thing, and that was because I remember at the time I didn't give the bikes to the guys, but I had to build 2 downhill bikes that I owned. And I said, "Here you go, you take them," and they thrashed them, and so it was a big investment.
Yeah, there's a lot going into that.
At this point when we were just a little, but I think it paid dividends, and then we just continued to invest in obviously the business and the athletes, and we sort of we definitely continue to now to the point where I would say even at the moment I feel like we're putting more and more into more athletes or ambassadors or
A lot of young ones coming through.
Yeah, yeah. We've got
That's
a few sort of some downhillers and a couple of cross country little rising stars. So they don't all go on to be superstars, but that's fine.
But
that's
not everyone does. So it's not like if you're going to try and pick and choose doing that, you'd never get anyone.
No, and they don't need to. But what it does sort of highlight, they learn a lot and things like that. But I guarantee there is a chance that one of them probably could.
Yeah.
Fits well with your brands as well. Like all your brands are kind of, I'd say all, but probably all are somewhat performance orientated. And, having a race team or in some cases free riders, works well with those brands.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's been your favourite ever wide open athlete, and why was it Matt Scholes?
They're like his kids, though.
Mate, it's a shame that he
can't play favourites.
No, but he was amazing.
I didn't bring his name up on purpose because I was waiting for that question so I could throw that one in there.
Yeah, we forgot about Scholesy, didn't we? No, he was definitely one of my favourites in terms of just because he's a good bastard.
Just such a good
He
human.
still is. He's not dead.
He's still
there. He still
you'd
exists.
think so because he never sends you, text, ask you how you going or anything. No,
it's because he's moved back to Alex. I don't know if they got cell phone reception down there.
Yeah, but he just didn't quite get a break. He missed. But I think it was if he'd got one more step, he'd be he would have had a good
He
career.
had that year where he was like pulling top tens and that at World Cups,
He
like
was on that
2010, on Trek on that Cinquegrani, the Italian team, and he just didn't get that chance to elevate from there. And I mean, if that had come up the next year, like who knows where he could have been, but he was at that crossroads where a lot of people maybe make the wrong decision, right decision, who knows, but he went, stuff it, it's not happening, I'm gonna go carry on with life. And
it's not easy.
No.
To be away from home, and you're a long way from home. Europe's really hard.
He was living in a random town in Italy, like in a little apartment above a bike shop, I think, at that point. And at least in the US, everyone speaks English and it's even easier to get around. But that would have been hard work.
Yeah, well, that's what's really cool about this. I was talking to John about this the other weekend. This Monster Cup stuff starting to bubble. I don't know where it'll get to, but that's a real positive. Could be a really good sort of segue for young New Zealand downhillers to sort of, because it's a bit more accessible. I know that obviously it's big scale in terms of country, but Americans love Kiwis. They know that you're going to get bang for buck. You're going to get sort of reliability and things like that. So, there could be an opportunity there for some.
I've been telling anyone that'll listen that this is where, if they're not quite at that level of going and making a, getting a qualifying spot at a World Cup, that's where they should go, because it's just gonna
Absolutely.
it's gonna hone their racing skills. Like, it's great racing, the people are awesome, you know, like, and it's if it starts growing anything to what the Norvas are like, if you get in there now, like, who knows where it could go, you know.
It's super interesting. Like, we've seen this wave of like Kiwi cross-country gravel guys who've done well the last couple of years, and I feel like there's maybe a little bit of a swell back towards some of the downhillers heading that way as well. But like you say, you can, in fact, arguably some of the gravel boys now will make a living next year racing in the US, which they never, and they would say this, they've never had that opportunity.
No.
Racing World Cups or...
There's another one, Caleb Botcher.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
I was just thinking, I had a chat with him just right here on Friday, and you know, like it was really cool because he's sort of, you know, he's been sort of there or thereabouts for a while, but that, you know, that breakout win, and just the, you know, he's just what doors can open off the back of that.
Absolutely.
And it's just easier. Ultimately, it's easier to travel. You know, it's not cheap and things like that, but that would be a trajectory I would go. And then, you know, again, talking to John, he said that, you know, the Monster Cups were well organised, and
Clay that's running them, he's like, I had a good chat to him at the start of this year, and he was like, we could have put 7 races on if we wanted to this year, but he's like, I don't want to try and do that because we're going to just ruin the series. He's like, I want to just grow it smoothly but well, and I think he's got the right idea on it to just keep it elevating, like especially with the way, you know, like you look at the US Open now and how many people are showing up for that from World Cups, and I think the level of competition is just going to keep elevating, which is, it's cool to see something coming back there, and especially because it's someone just like the Lifetime with the gravel stuff, you know, it's someone running it as a business, so if they can make it profitable and continue to grow, it's not like a, you know, cycling, you know, like USA Cycling running it just for the fun of it. You know, it's someone that's actually going to make a business out of it. So
yeah,
it'll be cool to see. And I mean, on the gravel side too, I think like when you see, you know, like Cam Jones goes and wins it, it starts helping all the Kiwis coming through.
Totally.
You know, if you've got
it
someone
inspires
like that,
them,
because all the brands and teams start going, shit, that Kiwi's really good. Who else is there available? You know, what else is coming through? So
yeah, the talent that comes out of here, out of New Zealand, is impressive. It really is, and it seems like we're on a bit of a wave of, you know, more to come. It's really cool. The sport is, you know, you think of like when I started mountain biking to where it is now. You know, we've just been out at the Waka, you know, to see that race, and just the people and the families, and you know, like it's mainstream.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really cool.
what do we say that would? Did they say 3,000? Was it 3,600 people racing
like
across all the categories here? Like, that feels insane, you know, when you go back 10 years, and it's like, man, that's a lot of people at one event.
Yeah, it's cool.
And just what it does for, you know, not only mountain biking, but the wider Rotorua.
Yeah.
I've got this many people coming to an event, so.
Yeah, it's great for the industry, sure.
Yeah. Keeping us in a podcast, kind of. Keeping doggers in a job.
Yeah, not a job, but, you know.
It definitely,
gives us something to do.
Yeah.
Saves us from just sending messages in a group chat, and we can talk to people on here and let everyone else join in.
So, yeah, something like that.
Got anything else, Lester?
What's next, doggers? That's the big question. I mean, you how many years deep did we decide you were? 20, let's call it 20.
Yeah, it's 20
with
plus.
Wide Open, 20 plus years. You've now got yourself well established. You're no longer a garage operation or a work from home operation. But where do you see Wide Open in the future? What's the kind of grand scheme?
I think it's just steady as she goes. You know, obviously we'd love to. You know, you'd always want to sort of grow and scale, but that's only really possible off the back of, you know, good brands, and you know, most, if not all, good brands are already pretty well represented in our market. So, you know, you either need to be patient, or, you know, there's an opportunity present itself, or but you can also, you know, you can lose brands as well, which sort of takes the wind out of your sails a little bit. So it can be a bit of a roller coaster, but that's sort of business, eh? You sort of got to go with it. But I think, you know, for Alice and I, we're not I think we're pretty sort of humble. We like the scale that we've got. We've got an amazing team. I think we always have had a really, really solid, long-standing staff. Which
Well, I mean, we talked about how many years Dean's been here for,
Dean,
and I mean,
yeah.
I think that speaks volumes that someone's been here like around 18 years. Like clearly you're doing something right.
Yeah, he's part of the furniture for sure. But I think we'll just continue, doing what we're doing. But I don't know. I'm still as energized as probably ever, but it will get to a point where you're like, do you? I don't know. Are we going to do something different or whatever? But no, we feel where we are now with the new building and things like that. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
How, I mean, without going too much into detail, it's obviously a pretty turbulent time in the bike industry.
Yeah.
In the last, 3 years, I'd say.
Has been, yeah.
But I guess like a lot of what you're doing here is parts and accessories to them. Well, it is really all parts and accessories. You're not doing any bike brands.
No bike brands, no.
It's probably, we know new bike sales are not what they used to be, definitely compared to COVID. So, but I guess the brands you've got are probably great because that consumable side of things actually just would tick along.
Yeah, for sure. Like we do some frames, Envy. Obviously
of course,
do
true.
a road and gravel.
But yeah, you're
but
not
no.
trying to stock.
No.
hundreds of
We're
bikes or
definitely a
anything, like,
parts
yeah.
and accessory wholesaler, and we were talking before we got chatting. You could add a bike brand, but with that comes quite a lot of admin.
Probably more warehouse space to
Yeah.
fit bikes in for a start.
I think that's a pretty tough game at the moment, especially as a distributor. Because of the a lot of the obviously the big brands now are pretty much direct to dealer.
Pretty vertical in some cases. Yeah.
Exactly.
That direct stuff has definitely changed that market a lot too. It's like from when you did Turner, like, man, the market has changed a shitload.
Yeah, margin has changed. There's definitely, you look at what you used to sort of put on market, margin, it's definitely got tighter, and supply chains have changed a lot. So you've got to be realistic, I think, with where you sit, and that, nothing's forever, and, but I think we offer a lot as a brand partner, because you obviously have a lot of relationships. My team have really strong relationships with, their dealers, etc., things like that. But I like us being more of a consumable sort of wholesaler. But I love the bits though. You've got to have cool stuff.
Yeah, I know you've got some cool stuff around. Just looking at the shelf with all sorts of grips and pedals and saddles, and it's like those accessories are it's pretty cool when you go shopping for that stuff.
So jumping out of the product side, just jogged my memory. What for you over, I guess, 20 years? What's some real standout moments having Wide Open? What are the experiences that will stick in your mind until you're, in your rocking chair whipping some wood in 10 years?
Yeah, that's. I suppose some of the, the results, some of what some athletes have done has definitely been, a bit of a highlight. Like the Rampage thing. It's funny because I've sort of, went through it with Kelly, and he obviously had incredible highs and then really, challenging sort of lows with blowing bikes up. And
I just suddenly remembered Corsair bikes as well when you mentioned Kelly. I was like, man, there's another brand from days gone by.
And then lived it again with Connor,
Of course.
Yeah, and then now Robin. So you take a lot of pride out of that. I don't know. I think what I'm probably really I've always been grateful is that I've been able to take something that I loved, like a passion of mine, mountain biking, and then I was able to, become a pro mechanic, and kind of live a childhood kind of dream, and then that opened the door to, the Wide Open thing. And so I've been able to make something that is my passion, is my job, and that that has its pros and cons a little bit, because I probably don't ride as much as I used to, because I sort of get a bit over it, or you get a bit sort of bit stale on it. but that's a pretty cool journey. Not many can sort of say that, and it's a massive part of me and a massive part of Alice as well. She's just been dragged along for the ride, and it's a massive credit to her. Is that this is her as much as me. She's behind the scenes, and but she contributes massively. So it's a team effort. Yeah.
Epic.
Do your kids ride?
A little bit. My daughter rides a little bit, but no.
He
Which
just
is
uses them for advertising.
Yeah. Josh was out there. He
Just
was
put
the-
sandwich
he
boards
was
on.
the sandwich board, but no. And I'm actually, I don't want. I'm actually quite happy about that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would be all consuming. It's nice that they don't, and but they're very aware of what we do and what we've done, and I know they're very proud of us and stuff. So
Yeah, it's a funny one because you get it a lot. I'm sure you get it my oldest boy is getting quite into it now, but it's like it was always you're gonna get your kids into bikes, and I'm like, no, that's my thing. Like if they want to get into it, that's fine. But I'm not going to force it down their throat just because I love riding. But as it turns out, through probably osmosis of me being ever consumed by bikes, they just have as well. But
and that's cool, and they may do it for a while and then sort of drift off. But
so I've always said, I'm like, if they get into basketball, I'll learn everything I can about basketball and support them on that side as well.
And we love watching the kids play sport. That's a real highlight for us. We love it. But
probably saves you some money as well because you're not having to fork out parts of them. Dad, can you get me this? Dad, can I just grab this off the shelf? But
after watching a downhill race here at Skyline 2 weeks ago, I'm glad my kids don't ride because it takes a while to get used to being on the sideline of a downhill track because I first got up there and these young 13-year-old girls are coming down the hill. I'm like, holy shit, they're hooking, hitting these big jumps, and then the boys are, So it's
these kids are not mucking around anymore. Holy shit!
It's definitely there's some consequences there.
So we had national secondary schools in Nelson a few weeks ago, and it's like I can't remember what the number was, but there was a lot of broken collarbones. Kids just getting shipped out of there with their arms in a sling and collarbones dangling, and
for sure.
Yeah,
it's a make or break for them, I guess.
Yeah,
they're either going to be frothing on it to get back, or they'll be like, nah, close the door.
Had enough of this. But yeah, it's crazy to see. I mean, that race had 500 kids racing. It's just this. When I was at secondary school champs, it was always in Levin every year. There was 100, 150 maybe. If that,
And you had to race up the hill to get to the downhill.
Uphill, cross country, and downhill.
Yeah, the under 15 category is just massive.
What's you saying about that race at Skyline? I had a quick flick through the results and I started at elite and I was like, oh yeah, Lewis won, that's pretty good time. And then I got to under 17 and I looked at the times and I was like, holy shit, they'd put 10 seconds into Lewis Hamilton on a 10-second track and I mean a 2-minute track, and I was like, what?
But did you see the old dog? Did you see Rolly's time?
No.
Yeah, he was up there.
No,
I want to say he
would
was.
have been was he on a downhill bike or truck?
Yeah, no, he's full pro.
Oh, he's a
mate.
Masters
He's
world champ.
Yeah,
Should be.
Yeah, he's gonna go back and defend his title. He's telling me. I'm waiting for the call up. Get on the tools.
Get on the tools.
But no,
Get the band back together.
I reckon he was top 5.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. And someone slowed him down, he reckons. At the end.
Did he have his goggles on his handlebar though?
No, he would have come through the line shaking his head. Dirt on the shoulder.
High
he's had
roller
a crash.
semi-slick on the back.
Yeah. Oh, the Nathan Rankin stories, man. I think that was part of his mystery, as a kid, and you didn't really know him, and he'd come through the line shaking his head, and he's got dirt on his shoulder, and then it's goes into first place. You'd be watching that old timing board scroll through, and it's next thing he's 5 seconds up. You're like, oh my God.
He was. Well, he still is, obviously, but he was quick. Yeah.
I don't think his the speed he ever quite managed to unleash very consistently overseas. No,
that was probably his probably one weakness was sort of that consistency. John was probably a bit better, but on his day, Rolly would, and he was. I don't think he won a Norba, but he was well up there. And,
he got a lot of podiums.
And
a couple of sixths at World Cups. And
he never got on the box, unfortunately. But there was a year, was it the last year or second to last year that I think he might have finished second. John might have won it or something, and then Rando was there or thereabouts, and then Todd won the US thing. So that was pretty cool.
Going back to, we're going to jump way back. Were you actually making money doing the Foes job?
A little bit.
You've got to be getting paid something.
It was so like,
Yeah.
if you think about it, it was so like loose.
Yeah.
Because like I
probably didn't have a visa.
No, I had a tourist visa,
Oh,
6 months.
Yeah.
But I'd go in carrying a toolbox, like I'm obviously there to work, And Brent gave me, he looked after me when I was on the road, so I didn't cost me when I was, and then he'd just give me I think he gave me a monthly thing, and I'd just send it home. So I think when I came home after 5 years, I had 20 grand, which at the time I was like,
it's not
man,
bad.
yeah. I was like, bang, and that got, between, and then Alice contributed, so we were able to buy a house, and just everything with the business for a long time.
Yeah.
We just rolled money in. We only pulled them or very little out. So
Yeah. Nice. Oh,
yeah.
paid off then. I mean, it's paid off because it's, like you say, it turned your passion into a job, and it's, I mean, look at it now where it's got to.
No, that's cool. I appreciate that.
Doesn't happen by accident.
No.
No, it's definitely a lot of work.
I'm sure
It's
there's
definitely
there's been plenty of sleepless nights over the years. It hasn't all been smooth sailing.
Yeah, and even the walker when I'm setting up, just went down and just helped set up some tents, and I was just thinking to myself, shit, I've done this. You realise you're a bit of an old statesman, eh? Like, there he is, old Matt from Wide Open.
We'll maybe in the words of Nathan Rankin, I'm too old for this shit.
yeah, exactly.
But he was saying that when he was like 27. Oh, man. Well, it's been fantastic, unless you've got anything else you can think of.
No. Good to have a trip down memory lane.
How was the beer, though?
It was good. Pretty tasty. We've got
Yeah.
to thank Bubbles from Best Build Wellington for supplying those ones.
Yeah, month party Bubbles, and it was the hazy
Mouth party.
Oh, month. No, that's pretty good.
It's a party in your mouth.
Need to borrow my glasses.
It is a 5.3.
Oh, maybe we shouldn't have been having that the night before the day before the walker, but that's
Helps
all
the
right.
blood flow.
Yeah, it's carbs. Carb loading.
Exactly.
You guys will go well tomorrow.
Yep,
We'll be right.
that's the plan. Nice. All right. Well, it's been awesome. Thanks, Dogboy. Thanks for coming in and sitting down and spinning some yarns.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Lester.
What's up? I come from the land of down under. I can't hear you. What was that? I can't hear you. I let it be like John Lennon, the anti-serum that you don't get for poisonous venom. Read the label carefully, I'm only here for the show. I love hip-hop too much to let you feed my ego. In the key of F-U-C-K, Y-O-U. I mean, why do I owe you if you're not helping me through? I mean, why do I owe you if you're obstructing my view? Success is not my castle, just a house that's brand new. You see, I irrigate the culture, give it shape like a sculpture. Still complicated, rock like I'm supposed to. B-L-I-T-Z like my DJ. Rock to the rhythm like you rock to what he